All right. Welcome, our wonderful LinkedIn community. I'm so excited to introduce you to Shaheen Bensgear today, who is a career and leadership coach extraordinaire, CTI certified, and a former HR in large companies in oil and gas. Welcome, Shaheen. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you, Catherine. So nice to be here with you.
Yeah, Shaheen's, our paths crossed quite a few years ago when Shaheen's was at the crossroads, deciding between the corporate world, actually, deciding which role to take in the corporate world, and in the process of coaching, realizing that, your true passion was to actually focus a lot more on helping people to grow and develop, and so ended up choosing the path to become a coach. So, and taken steps towards building your business in the Abundant Coach Accelerator, our very first cohorts a few years back. So it was so wonderful, Shaheen, to watch your journey unfold, and how courageous you were at some point to decide, okay, I'm going to reject these very lucrative offers to work in HR. I'm actually going to work for myself now. So we'd love to hear more of your journey, and also for anyone else out there working in prestigious jobs in large organizations and kind of really not sure if they can make this happen on their own. We'd love to hear how you've done it and what helped you to get there. Yeah. So anything else that you'd like to mention about
I just would like to mention that my cat is here with us today, so he might say hi.
Oh, I hope so.
So yeah, thank you so much, Catherine. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. Indeed, we've been knowing each other for such a long time. You've seen my journey, so it's just a joy to be here today. So yeah, we met. You were my career coach a long time ago, and that's how we met. I was in a crossroad, let's put it this way, where I was not very sure where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and you did help me to figure out my path. And for that, I'm really grateful to start with. So I am going to use the analogy of the mountains to start with, to give you a little bit of a background of, a little bit of my story. Do you know the mountains analogy from David Brooks? Do you know? No? Okay. So basically, this is an analogy about, you seeking something and climbing a mountain, right? And what happens is you have different type of mountains. So the first mountain that you want to kind of climb, it's a mountain that we all want to climb. It's called like the kind of self sort of mountain. And, you climb it. It's oftentimes it's about fame, success, achievements, and it's really about self, right? So it's really about like, you. And so what happens when you climb these mountains, there's two things that might happen. Either you come on top of a mountain and that's, you just get on the top and you just be like, okay, what's next? What's about it? Is it really something? Maybe not, right? Or you get knocked out of the mountain, right? Because of certain circumstances, because of maybe there is a bit of situation, crisis, family drama. Well, basically life happens. Mm-hmm. And in my situation, I was literally knocked out of a mountain. So I had some situations where I had to kind of revise, who I was, my values, what was important to me, and so on. But the beautiful things about being knocked out or knocked off, it's you reach a point where you're kind of, you have a mountain and you have like the valley, which is where you are in the position where you feel literally aimless. You don't feel that you have a purpose. You don't feel that there is something for you. You feel lost, literally lost, because you don't know what's next for you. You don't know what to do next, right? Mm. That's a position where literally you have time to think about what's for you next, what you want, what is fulfilling for you, what is your vision. It's really time for you to really think of all these things, all these important things, right? And the beautiful thing is when you take time in that valley, being literally lost, seriously, you do realize certain things. So you do realize that there are other things which are more important than self, success, fame, money, and so on and so forth. You realize that there are other things which are way more important. And then you start climbing probably your second mountain. And oftentimes, of us, the second mountain, it's much more going to be about service. So how do I serve others? How do I serve my community? How do I help others? How do I give meaning to my life, and true meaning, not only to self, but like to, to my life, everyone around me, right?
Yeah.
And so that's literally when we met, right? I was in kind of a valet position, right? Because I was totally burnt out when we met, if you remember. And I was in a position where I had this great profession. I had actually a very great professional path, and I was very proud of it. I was really proud of what I've achieved. I was in a position where, it was not fulfilling, right? It took a tool out of me because I was in a position where I was just burnt out, as I said. So when we met, we've done a lot of work. I've done work by myself before we met, and then we also helped me to realize certain things. We worked, I think, on the values, on identifying what's important for me, and so on and so forth. So as I said, then climbing the second mountain was all about service. So how do I serve my community? And then to kind of finish with this analogy. So to me, giving a purpose to my career was super important. So I was seeing it in a very different way. So that's when I decided to kind of create my company, which was absolutely not easy, I would say. We see a lot of, I don't know, I see a lot of...
your honesty.
Yeah. So I do see a lot of those, YouTube videos, or like even on LinkedIn, people making it very easy. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you can just do it. It's very easy. No, it's not true. Let's be honest. It's not true. However, it is feasible as well.
Yeah. Okay. We'll hear about the third mountain later, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you mind sharing, like, where are you today in your business, in your practice? Who do you work with? What does it look like?
So I mainly work with international executives in sort of transition to something more meaningful for them. Oftentimes, the people who come to me are either introverts, sensitive. They might have like some sort of trauma, some burnout. However, they are very high achievers, so it's very difficult for them to open up. And I serve literally international anywhere in the world. I do have a soft spot for the Middle East and Africa, but I do with Europe as well. I work a lot with big business schools, management schools as well. And I do have another soft spot when it comes to Europe. I enjoy working on topics like inclusion and diversity as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I loved it also how, like, right from the start, you weren't like waiting. You're like, I'm going to fly to Dubai. I'm going to go to this conference. I'm going to like meet all of my connections there and see what happens. You're real, like you were like, because I know you a bit, right? So like you were in the corporate world, your company could drop you in Iraq, Dubai, middle of the US, France or the UK, and you sort of like found your feet and made a success in different locations. In a similar way, I found that, I like working with people coming from a strong corporate and professional background, because you get this really amazing training, and then you can go and use that, implement it in your coaching practice by basically doing the same things, only kind of taking advantage of all of the value that you are delivering. You don't have to wait for a company to give you the paycheck. You are basically collecting all of the value that you're putting out there. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. And tell us, like, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your, maybe some fears that were coming up or challenges along the way, and how you dealt with those.
Yeah, so I actually really, that's a very good question, because I really thought about it. And I think there are a lot of, like, there are few, of course, it's going to be personal, and it's going to be very different from a person to another. So to me, it's not really a financial, because I kind of really thought about it before creating, being an entrepreneur. I really thought about how I secure myself financially. That's something that I was thinking a little bit ahead of the game. To me, it was much more identity, right? I went through like some sort of identity crisis, very weird, very strange. So I really clung to my professional identity, and I couldn't let it go, because I don't know, there was something very prestigious about being like this really cool HR manager, HR director at a very high level, working for this big corporate and flying here and there and achieving all these great things. There was a bit of kind of a bit of ego, like, a bit of like, yeah, this is what I do. And I really identified myself strongly to that. And that was, really, I'm laughing because I had so much issue letting go of that identity. And then I realized, you know what? I don't really have to 100% let it go. It's still part of me, right? I'm still an HR professional. I'm still using HR knowledge and skills and competencies with my clients. And I serve in different ways because I also work with companies. So it's, I still do it. It's fine. But it's just like, how do I diversify my sort of identity, right? So by bringing the coaching, by bringing like other sort of new tools. And then I realized it's actually way more exciting to be an entrepreneur and to have a team and, to have your own company, only because I've learned a ton of skills since I've created my company. And I'm so grateful for that. I've grown within like the last few years. I've grown like I haven't grown in 10 years in my corporate job. So
wow.
That's
amazing. Yeah, that's a big thing to say. Yeah.
It's a big thing because I think we always look at challenges in a way that, oh my God, I'm really scared. But really it's what's behind the challenge. What are you going to learn? And also I realized that, hey, you know what? Whether it works or it doesn't work, at the end of the day, I'm still having all these skills which I will be able to use in other settings, in other environments, right? So that's what I realized. So yeah, identity was key. So identity crisis was like, that was a big challenge for me.
Yeah, no, I remember, and thank you for allowing me to share this. I remember that I think you were coaching for like a year before we finally managed to coach you into creating one post on LinkedIn to say, hey guys, network, I'm a coach now. I've changed my professional path. And I've experienced that too. Like it felt like a little bit like, in a small way, like a coming out party. I'm a new type of person now, do a different thing, right? And I remember there was quite a lot of resistance to it initially. And once you did, and I noticed this with a lot of other clients as well, is once you do the first one, the hardest bit, like it seems to take the most pressure to do that. But then eventually people start having a lot more fun with it and realize it's okay to be seen in a different way. And in most cases, to show, to present to the world something that feels a lot more like real you, like real authentic you, which makes it so much fun, these days to watch you be so playful with your content, with your posts, so kind of, I don't know, unattached and like really fresh. So anyone watching and curious to see what I mean by that, check out Shahinas's LinkedIn activity here. So yeah, such a joy to see that transition.
I do remember that, coming out. Literally, that's how I called it, right? The first post exactly, coming out.
Anything else that you feel was like a big kind of challenge and breakthrough for you on this path?
So the other challenge was, of course, definitely the skills, which I guess we are going to mention, which I kind of learned when deciding to be an entrepreneur. The other thing was loneliness. So when I started, I was obviously you're alone, right? You're not when you're an HR professional.
And it was during the pandemic as well, wasn't it? Like you couldn't travel, like was just like you in your element sort of thing. Yeah.
So during the pandemic, so definitely, you're alone. You're like in your office, and have my family and my cat who comes and says hi, but like other than the cat and the family, really, you don't really have like colleagues, you work with. And as an HR professional, you really have, you are used to having people always knocking at your door, coming, you have literally people queuing, if I can say, at your door, right? So that for me was like another, like, oh my God, I'm just by myself. I'm kind of bored. I had to create like an environment, a very cozy office, cozy environment for me. And I had to make it fun. So, and that's really, I really identify with that, right? I always try, whatever I do, I try to make it, I try to look at things as a kind of fun adventure, which I want to start, right? When I start something new. So that was the second thing, right? Loneliness. But however, with your program, I really appreciated the fact that you created a very nice community. And that really helped me, right? Because I'm really not lonely. I'm really not alone. With your program, I have colleagues I can chat with. I also have a couple of mentors who have been following my full journey. In fact, HR mentors. From being a fresh out of university, I have 2 mentors which I say hi and really thank them as well. So I'm really not alone, right? But again, it's like the identity. It's an identity thing, right? Yeah. Now I have to kind of shift it and understand that it's it can be great, it can be nice. I just have to look at it in other kind of using another perspective, sort of view.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it so difficult as well when I was quitting my corporate job, which was a really good job. Like, so far as corporate jobs go, it was fantastic. Great company, great colleagues. So it really felt like, a career suicide, taking that step, even though I felt confident. I don't see myself in the corporate world longer term. I still, I felt quite lonely because my network where most people had successful corporate careers. And so they really kind of didn't understand. So in reality, I sort of had to go into hiding. I didn't really speak or meet my friends from the corporate world, which was a bit sad because I did make some really great friendships there. But I just felt like being under the radar and kind of plugging away until I felt ready to reconnect. And, I started also looking out for mentors and communities to join because I needed that kind of, people who would expand me in a way, my view of the world, to see that a different way of working, different way of being is possible. So, yeah, it was so lovely to see you, work with me one-on-one initially and then join our, small cohorts and travel with a group of other people who were on the same path and also quitting corporate jobs to become coaches successfully. So I feel like teary. It was... I don't know. It's just such a nice memory of your journey, and just to see you, in such a great place. So I don't know. You can see in your face you're glowing and joyful, right? So it's and the kind of confident coach and business owner that you've grown into over this years. So
and it's interesting because I'm starting working with a new lady. Actually, we're having our first session just after this meeting, this discussion, and this is exactly what I told her. You have to have faith. That's another thing. When I really think about what really helped me in terms of, okay, there are the tools that, we can use. You can be trained, you can have mentors, you can have a very nice community as well. But you really have to have that faith, which I almost call like, when you really put yourself into, when you decide to do something and when you put all your intention in that, right? There is a word which is it's an Arabic word actually. It's like having you full. It's not really the intention, but it's intention and like mental state, right? It's called niyyah in Arabic, and so like it's your intention and then your mental state. So you put your full full faith into what you do, and I think that's also something that needs to be kind of worked on when you want to create your own your company, when you want to start coaching full time, having your own practice and so on. You really have to have faith in it, right? And it's okay. We are human beings, right? We can have faith and we can also sometimes cry. It's also part of the game. It's not 100%, I can do it. I can do it. Sometimes we have to realize, well, it's hard. It's not easy. And I'm going to cry maybe for 10 minutes, but then, I'm going to go back to that game and again, make it fun, really.
I love that point because it's, there's a risk in any changes and transitions in life, even changing jobs from one company to the next, even if it's a very similar job in a company, there's still a leap of faith to know that maybe this will work out, maybe it won't. I also think that making this transition, it felt like a big risk, and it's something that has different. I'm not religious, but I do, I'm quite spiritual, and I really I think that's something that really helped me to reconnect to my faith in the universe. Is like in the moments when I really broke down and cried, when it was the hardest times, I just kind of put that struggles and anxiety that I had into sort of like a prayer to say like, hey, I really don't know how to overcome this now. I trust you, the universe, to support me in this. Could you please help? Right. So, and this is actually, it's true that I think the most challenging moments in life and in starting my practice is when like my faith in that consciousness around me has been the strongest. So thank you. This is a really great reminder. Yeah. And, for anyone who is considering joining our group, now that we've grown as a community a lot since the time when we started working with you, and if someone's kind of on the fence or unsure, or anything that you'd like to share, anything in particular that worked well for you, any recommendations?
So on the much more like practical side, I said like the really concrete outcome which I got, I would say it's really defining what type of coach. So I was obviously trained as a coach, so I know how to coach anyone literally, right? I was trained and certified by CTI, which took me like a couple of years, I think. But what your program helped me, which I don't think any kind of coaching school would do, it's literally like, helping you to find your niche, really find like who would be you, who can you, again, because I always go back to serving now, right? Who can you serve the best in terms of clients, right? Who are you going to be, who is going to connect very well to you and connect, and vice versa. So that was like very helpful to me to understand, hey, you know what, my niche is, I don't know, I was discussing last week, I think, with a person who wants to retire, and I was like, I don't think I'm the right person to coach that man who wants to retire in a year's time, because it's not really, I don't really connect with that person, right? So what I'm trying to say here, it's really defining who you are going to serve best, who you are going to be able to get, because again, when you're a coach, you really want to help your clients to get the results they come to you for. So really defining that niche, that was very helpful. Also having some techniques in terms of, because again, I'm an HR person. I never really had to talk business or talk sales or whatever to anyone. It's a skill that I had to build and I had to learn. So that was quite useful as well to understand, the sales cycle, to understand, what it basically means to sell. Although I don't like to call it this way as a coach, to be honest, I always talk about connection.
Yeah,
that was very useful.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. And I actually hear this a lot, when people come from, especially the HR side of the business, that they would feel, well, I was a recruiter as well, right, in my past career, that we feel like, oh, do we know how to be a business owner or how to enroll clients? So just for anyone considering, thinking about it, thinking, oh, I'm not really a salesperson. It's not really about selling as much as it's just learning to identify where is the right match, and just walking them through a possible journey, inviting them to it. So there are definitely tools that can support anyone without any sales experience to get good at it. All right. So if you're curious in the Abundant Coach Accelerator program, send me a direct message to talk more about it. And if you are someone in my network who is, sounds like a better match to work with Shahina, so, you are thinking about a career change, or you are in a leadership position and feeling a bit stuck in certain areas and you would like some support, then please do reach out to Shahina's, schedule a taster session, and then see where you take it from there. Anything else you wanted to add to it in terms of, the kind of...
I would just say that for the people who are listening to us, whether they are looking to create a coaching practice, or whether they're thinking of moving jobs, changing countries, whatever it is, whatever change they're seeking, I would really say that to ask themselves just one question: what it would be if they don't do it. And honestly, sometimes, yes, definitely it's a risk. But I'd rather know, for me at least, I'd rather take the risk and see what results I would get. So just not, basically, it's only an encouragement to just do it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And one thing that I found is that when you've had a long-term, like high-profile career, I went back to my employer and I said, look, I'm going to quit, but if I want to come back, will you take me? They said, yeah, absolutely. And then I thought, okay, if it was just for the moment, I could have gone to 10 other companies, who I had good connection with, who could have taken me on board. So it is a risk, but it's not, I think a lot of the time, it's not as big of a risk in reality as it is in our heads. So thank you so much for that encouragement. And I remember that we didn't cover the third mountain peak. Would you mind sharing? What was the third mountain in the valley?
So it's literally, so as I said, it's self, it's service, and then it's kind of combined. The second mountain, it's kind of combined with the third one, which is service, and how do you it's also like family, friends, and so on, right? Which is kind of combination between service and that aspect of life, which goes together.
Yeah, exactly. And when you choose, I actually, my decision to quit the corporate world and work for myself was the fact that I wanted to be a very present parent once I have a kid. That was like really good foresight for me, because I didn't even have a partner at that point. So I'm really pleased that I thought about it back then. I thought I want to be a very present mother, and now I really see that, how amazing that is. And yeah, it's beautiful how when you are deciding to work for yourself, you can also consciously decide how you want to work, how much time you spend, focusing on your profession, how much time you focus on your family and friends, and, other values that you have in life. So, yeah.
Indeed, you are much more, just to summarize, you are much more aligned to whatever is important to you. You value your family, whatever cause you want to serve. So, yeah, definitely, more place as well.
Shahinaz, thank you so much for being here and sharing your beautiful story, your wonderful energy. And for me, it's just like, as I said, teary to hear you say these things and to see where you are today. And thank you so much for also sending encouragement to others who are a few years earlier on their path. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.